Hi, I'm Dávila Cardinal, and I'm going to read a few pages from 5 Midnights. Vico woke up with a start, his body bathed in sweat, his heart beating faster than it did when he was high. While he slept, the darkness had returned, a feeling that had followed him like a shadow for years, disappearing whenever he whipped around to see what was there. He pulled on a shirt and shoes, grabbed the backpack from under his bed, and headed out into the night. A chill moved through his body as he drove down the dark, narrow, cobblestone streets of Old San Juan, his SUV barely squeezing by the parked cars that lined either side. He looked over at the backpack in the passenger seat. To all appearances, it was a worthless, beat-up school pack. No one would guess the fortune of cocaina it held inside. He patted it as if it were a dog. He had to clear his head. This deal was too important to blow. He drove up Calle Norsagaray, the street that ran along the edges of El Rubi, the barrio where the deal would go down. His car buzzed by the restored Spanish villas on the left, where wealthy young families tucked their children into bed, their homes snuggled among the 16th century fortifications that surrounded the island's tip. On the right-hand side, over the waist-high wall and down a 50-foot drop lay El Rubi, where children went to bed with hand-me-down clothes and short futures. He parked his car a few blocks away from the wall, his electronic lock beeping farewell at his back. His ride was too good to park too close to El Rubi. He worked hard to build up his reputation and his bank account. He was the youngest player in the city, bought his first Cadillac Escalade at 16, his own condo in the Condado at 17. Now, on the eve of his 18th birthday, he was about to make the biggest deal of his life. His lieutenant Kino should have been there with him, but at the last minute he got a call from Vico's sister Marisol, Kino's on and off again girlfriend, and backed out. Vico chuckled. Cabron let himself be led around by his nose like a castrated bull. He slung the backpack on one shoulder and lit a cigarette in front of the pink house that stood across the entrance to El Rubi. The moon was rising high over the surf beyond El Morro as he crossed the street, the inky sky pushing it up over the buildings behind him. The dark night made it hard to see the crumbling stone steps, but he could have run them blindfolded. Vico had been going to El Rubi his whole life, since he was little to visit his grandmother, but after he turned 13 to buy drogas with his friend Izzy, and now to sell them. Bana had to earn a living in this tanking economy. He loved the way the decaying cement and wooden shacks were painted in bright colors, and the smell, salty ocean with notes of frying plantain, beer, garbage, and urine. Life. To him, El Rubi was teeming with it, unlike his old neighborhood where families stayed locked up in their gated homes, pretending everything was fine, pretending fathers weren't laid off, mothers didn't die, and kids came right home to do their homework. In El Rubi, everything was out in the open. Fights, love, drugs, no worry about what the neighbors would think. By the time he reached the bottom step, the moon was completely cut off by the buildings above. The only light, the warm glow of his cigarette floating in front of him in the dark, and from the shadow under the stairs came a scraping sound. He turned around and peered through the dark. Nothing. He shrugged and threw what was left of the cigarette on the ground. I'm just jumpy, he assured himself. $500,000 riding on this deal. That'd make any bana nervous, verdad? He chuckled and turned back. With the money from the score, he was going to throw one hell of an 18th birthday party tomorrow. Just then he heard a rumbling sound, and a stone flew past his foot as if kicked. His chest filled with heat. His hand automatically reached into his pocket, the yellow skulls on his switchblade glowing even in the dark. ¿Quién está ahí? Show yourself, pendejo, and maybe I won't cut your heart from your chest. Vico's voice sounded more secure than he felt. Damn Kino, he should have been here. Not that he couldn't handle himself. He'd proven that again and again, but there was something about the sound that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. He squinted into the dark and saw the glow of two yellow eyes. Vico stumbled backwards, his pulse pounding behind his face. But just as quick they were gone. He shuddered. He must have imagined them. They'd been so strange and yet familiar. He forced himself to turn around and continue walking, blade out just in case. He hadn't taken more than a step when a growl came from behind him. He wheeled around as a street dog with one ear and matted fur streaked out from behind the shadow beneath the stairs and took off down a side street. Tail between its legs, ears pinned to its head. He let out a deep breath and chuckled. A stupid sato. Scared of a mud, eh, Vico? I need a vacation, man, he said as he folded his blade closed and tucked it away. He grabbed another cigarette from his shirt pocket. Maybe he would take a vacation after this, head to Miami for a few weeks and lay low. His lighter flared to life just before something big hit him like a linebacker from behind, knocking the air from his lungs. The backpack with all those neatly wrapped bricks of white powder slipped from his shoulder. He tried to reach for it, but he was pinned upright. His left hand held the still flaming lighter, and he ran his right over his chest. When he pulled it away, it felt sticky, wet. He looked down, and in the glow of the flame, he saw red on his palm and watched his shirt grow dark. Another shove hit him from the back. A long, serrated claw emerged from his chest, as if it had pushed through from his nightmare. He was numb, his eyes wide, his mouth open in a silent scream, as he realized his feet were leaving the ground, his sneakers dangling as he hung as if mounted from the claw. The lights of El Rubi faded as he was dragged backwards. Ludovico tried to scream as he heard the sound of jaws snapping behind him. Then everything went dark. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lindy Ryan, president of Black Spot Books, an imprint of Vesuvian Books, the publisher of Speak No Evil by Liana Gardner. I am here in Liana's stead, as she has been battling leukemia and recently admitted to the hospital. We wish her a speedy recovery, and without further ado, here is an excerpt from Bram Stoker nominee Speak No Evil. After looking at all the pictures on the wall, I flopped on the couch. As I waited, the temperature plummeted. It had to be colder inside than out. Crazy. I drew my arms tighter against my body and huddled inside my jacket. I sat bolt upright at the sound of footsteps coming from the kitchen. I hadn't known anyone else was here. An old man wearing a wolf headdress rounded the corner and went down the hall. My heart pumped as I stared. I had seen him before, years ago. I searched my memory. Oh yeah, I had almost forgotten. On Grandfather Mountain with Daddy the day I saved the fawn. He must be Elder Lowry's friend. Weird that he wore the same clothes as he did then. Before long, he came back out, followed by Elder Lowry. If Elder Lowry was sick, shouldn't he still be in bed? Neither man looked in my direction, but Elder Lowry's skin looked different. He glowed, almost like he was lit from the inside. As they reached the front door, Quaddy Raincrow came out, but when I glanced back toward the men, they were gone. What did you see, child? I stood. Elder Lowry? Where did he go? My insides felt weird because the men had simply disappeared. Quaddy sighed. I'll explain, Achila, but after we're home. Now is not the time for explanation. Dwayne shuffled into the room and pulled his keys out of his pocket. I'll drive you back to the store. He sniffed. I can't believe he's gone. He died? But Quaddy embraced me in a one-armed hug. Let's go home. The porch door banged as the water came to a boil. Quaddy came in and put a teaspoon of leaves in the pot and poured the steaming water in. As many questions as I wanted to ask, I knew better. Quaddy wouldn't say a word until she was ready, and I had to wait. I carried the tea tray into the family room where I sat down, then lit the fire. Even though I had questions, I didn't get nervous until Quaddy sat next to me on the couch instead of sitting in her chair. Things must be a lot more serious than I had thought. She raised her cup and took a sip of the hot tea. Elder Lowry went to be with the grandfathers today while I was with him. She took another tiny sip. This may be difficult to understand, but you saw his spirit leaving. Other than the glow, he looked the same as he did before. My mind raced. It didn't make sense. I could see ghosts? She peered over her glasses. What else did you see? A man wearing ceremonial Wolf Clan skins and a headdress. I've seen him before. When? Quaddy rapped the question out. Hiking on Grandfather Mountain with Daddy? He stood behind Elder Lowry. Quaddy's glasses slid down her nose, and she pushed them back into place. Death has tracked Elder Lowry for quite some time. She settled against the couch back. I had wondered. Her words broke off when she pressed her fingers against her lips. The warmth from the cup seeped into my hands. Does seeing Elder Lowry's ghost make me weird? She patted my leg. No, Achila. You have been blessed with a gift from God and the grandfathers, just like your gift of song. Closing her eyes for a moment, she breathed deeply. God gives us gifts for a purpose. With your voice, you are meant to bless many. Having sight is to help you. But how did seeing dead people help me? Confusion was the only thing the gift had brought me so far. Do you remember what you told me about seeing your mama walking beside the creek before she died? I nodded. I saw a man wearing robes walking beside her, but she swore no one was there. Quadi took a sip of tea. Death comes to us in many ways, but he will always come to take the spirit onward. I shivered. So, the man in the wolfskins and the man walking beside Mama was Death? No wonder Mama denied walking with the man. My throat tightened. If I hadn't said anything about the man, would she still be alive? Drink some tea. My hand shook too much. But when death comes, there is no stopping him. You are not to blame. I wished I could believe that. Today you saw spirits to help prepare for the future. I can't say more than that.